So I'm thinking, in this fun endeavor of mine to rank every game I've played, it would make sense to have some summaries at certain milestones. 50 games feels like a first good milestone. Most of the games we have talked about so far are from the 70s, 80s, and a literal couple from the 90s. I obviously want to mix things up and not focus on a very linear year-to-year style of ranking or anything like that, but also I think that at least at first it's simpler to rank games that are relatively close to each other in terms of their era, so I'm sort of like focusing on the past while sprinkling in games from farther and farther into the future. And you know, I didn't really have a plan or system regarding how exactly I'd rank the games. I knew I didn't want to have any scoring, just base everything more of vibes and personal feelings, and it's really interesting how just with that in mind, and I have touched upon this a bit in one of the entries, there are formations of distinct categories. Like at the bottom we have the, let's call them what the even fuck games, like GTA 1, which literally makes me want to vomit, Superman for Atari 2600 that I can't stand playing at least with sound on, and even with it off, it's like, what the fuck is even going on? Then there are games that I just really don't like. For one reason or another, they make me angry or frustrated. I jokingly call this segment Shitted on Beloved Classics because here we have Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong Jr., Mega Man, Bomberman. I don't like those games, what can I do? Then we have games that are sort of like boring, but are fine enough that I wouldn't mind playing them that much if there'd be nothing else. But there is something else, so I don't really see a reason to. But it's interesting that here, from Battlezone and Asteroids up to Donkey Kong, there is sort of a clear progression in terms of how much time I'd be willing to spend out of my own accord in any of these titles. And I would be willing to spend more time in Donkey Kong than in any game below it, despite my criticisms. Then there's a small category that's sort of formed out of necessity, I guess? Games that are fine but are not for me. Lunar Lander? Great game, can't learn for shit, not for me. Qbert? Seems fun, I fucking can handle the controls. Super Mario Bros. 2? Honestly, I don't mind it in principle, but something just feels off. This is followed by titles that are generally a fine enough time for a little while, and again, there's sort of a clear progression in terms of how much time I'd be willing to spend with them. This is followed by a segment of games I could potentially like, that is something that draws me to them, but also something that ruins enjoyment. Metroid, intrigued by exploration, hate vertical shafts and corridors so much they made me quit the game. Zork, absolutely intriguing in the first segments, the feeling of exploration is awesome, but then it's replaced by the feeling of what the fuck do I have to do now? Zelda 2, really like it conceptually, but in terms of implementation, too many issues. Super Mario Bros. 1 is sort of at the top of all this because it's like my analytical part of the brain sees why it's a good game, but I just can't enjoy the physics. But then above Super Mario Bros. Are games that I do actually really enjoy, even if longevity has their limits. Missile Command, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong 3, Ice Climber, all fun games, but you know, I can't really say they have a big replayability factor for me. This segment, I guess, is topped by Super Mario Bros. 3 and Tetris, and then we get games that I am actually really engaged with. First, we have some cool but flawed titles like Ultima, Wizardry, The First Legend of Zelda, you know, all these early RPGs and action adventures. There is something in their experiences that elevate them beyond all other games. The sense of adventure, of getting stronger, of exploration, but also each of them is pretty flawed in one way or another. And the current top 3 is probably the most surprising for me because, honestly, if you'd ask me what I think would be the top games in the list by this point, yeah, it wouldn't have been Excitebike, Galaga and Castlevania. At the very least because I have never played Excitebike and Galaga until starting making this ranking, so they're just wildcards that busted in from nothingness and I was like, whoa, why didn't I know these games are so cool? And the current number 1 spot is held by Castlevania. Again, real surprised. When I was a child I didn't think the franchise was for me, something didn't gel. I wouldn't be able to tell you what exactly, but now that my tastes have sort of finished their formation after adolescence, something really clicked, and I loved it. I didn't expect I would like the game so much. But you know, we should be ready that Castlevania wouldn't hold the #1 spot forever. And for me, that's one of the beauties of this dynamic ranking. Even I am not fully sure how it's going to turn out, as more and more games will get added to the list, and its current shape has been really fascinating. I hope you have enjoyed this journey alongside me so far, and will keep enjoying it further as we will not only start seeing more games from the 90s, but also more forgotten or obscure stuff from the 80s. I have a little system in place now to have this gradual progression, but also to not go all over the place, but I kinda can't wait to revisit some titles like Zaliard, Wild Wheels, which is essentially the Rocket League of the 90s, some classic platformers like Commander Keen, Dangerous Dave, but also adventure games from Sierra and LucasArts. This list is gonna get pretty wild. Eventually.